Spathiphyllum or peace lilies are some of the most common houseplants around, and when we see them in garden centers or a plant shop, they are almost always in bloom, which is probably what draws us to the plants in the first place. And unlike their anthurium cousins, which have consecutive blooms usually throughout the year, peace lilies typically bloom once a year, and it's usually between January to August, and they are rather sporadic as to when they actually flower. Now, growers are able to get the plants to flower by using gibberellic acid spray, which is a plant hormone that controls the plant's overall development. So once the plant is sprayed, they typically then flower in around 2.5 to 4 months later. So if you're looking to get your peace lily to bloom again, then it can actually be really challenging because they are, as I shared, very sporadic bloomers. But if you give them good light and you keep them moist and you offer up some humidity, then they are more likely to rebloom. And the most suitable night temperatures for flower bud initiation and flowering is around 68 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like 20 degrees Celsius. So because it's so close to what we actually keep our home temperatures at, then it is likely we could get the plant to rebloom again. Now, in greenhouse conditions, the plant is usually under about 30% shade, which usually gives the best bloom results for the plant. So with that amount of information, you can maybe determine where is the best place in your home for your plants so you could actually get them to rebloom again. And once they do bloom, you could do something called deadheading, which essentially means cutting off the flower stalk. Now, sometimes when you do this for certain plants, it will actually cause them to bloom again, but that is not the case for peace lilies. They will want to actually shoot out another stalk, and then when you prune them down to the base of their stalk, as close to it as possible, because then it will give more room for another bloom to actually come up through there. Now, typically we see the creamy white spathes, and that's what this is on our peace lily, and this is just one that has just started to rebloom again. Now, sometimes they are streaked with green, and I've had folks who've reached out to me and they said, hey, what's wrong with my spathe? It's actually turning green, or it has, green streaks through it. And this usually means that it's either maturing or aging, but sometimes you actually have cultivars which have a little bit more of a greener spathe. And oftentimes that just means that the chlorophyll is coming back to the spathe, and it serves as a way in order for the plant to be able to harvest more light. Now, that being said, like I said, some species and cultivars naturally have a green spathe, and some have like a much larger spathe. So that's just something to look out for. You could usually tell because, as I mentioned, these plants are being sold in the garden centers and the plant shops when they're in bloom. So we're not always necessarily drawn to the peace lily for its actual foliage. Although I do have to say that this one here is Spathiphyllum Domino, and it has these nice little white fleckings through the leaves, so it does give a little bit more seasonal interest when it's not in bloom. And there's also another one that I haven't been able to get my hands on, but it's also really beautiful, called Spathiphyllum Picasso. And that one has a little bit more like Dalmatian style, like white splotches on its leaves, and that one is also very nice. And then of course you get ones with like really shiny dark green leaves, but really it's about the flower, which is, a good reason why you might want to actually get it to bloom again. But don't count on it as much in the same way as you would an anthurium. But I do hope that this gives you enough tips to get your plant to rebloom again. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Did you know that you can be a supporter of Plant One On Me? Well, take a look at our sustaining membership, because through your direct support, it helps allow us to keep producing high-quality videos. And some of the easiest ways that you could support are liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification button to get these videos delivered to your inbox. If you're interested in furthering your houseplant education, then take a look at our courses and digital offerings, like Houseplant Basics for beginners and the Houseplant Masterclass, both of which will give you a certificate of completion when you're finished with the courses. Information on all these offerings can be found on the website at homesteadbrooklyn.com.